You're listening to the Deadly Uncle Podcast,
a safe space for deadly uncle conversations. Joining us today, on today's episode, we have Tyson Martell.
Yes, Tyson Martell is from Mid-East Saskatchewan. He's our next guest. He's been through many, many trials and tributes. He's a recovering man that's on his Red Road journey. He's also acted in many different programs and different movies, been with some of the biggest stars, owned, a company, an oil company. He's done many things and been through ups and downs, and it's going to be a great story.
Yeah, stick around.
Grew up, it was, I grew up on the reserve. It was kind of tough because we kind of went to school with the white kids too, right? So we were kind of embarrassed to be First Nations at that time, right? So, that the alcohol and drug addictions was bad back then. So my parents ended up divorcing when I moved to Grand Prairie, Alberta, or Lloydminster. I played hockey there. I didn't know how to skate till I was 14, and we couldn't afford it. So I played a half year Pee-wee and a half year in house league Pee-wee, and then the next year I was captain of the major AAA team in Lloydminster. So I was there till 1991. We moved over to Grand Prairie, Alberta, and I graduated in 97. Not trying to put my age out there, but it is what it is. So 1997, my old man, my stepdad, he worked in the oil patch. So he instilled hard work, and I started service rigging about a week after I was done graduating. And I didn't know what the service rigs were, but, and alcohol was pretty big back then. You work hard, play harder. So the next thing, I wake up about 3 months later, and I'm a dare can. I'm like, what am I doing? So I ended up working service rigs for about 26 years. I worked in that, and I was told by a good friend of mine that, if that guy can do it, you can do it too, right? And so that really pushed me to my work ethic, right? So I started off 97. So I beat my dad consulting. I was consulting by the time I was 34 and making all that big money. I had my daughter in 2007. Tyson Tyler Martell. She saved my life back then. So I've actually I've stopped drinking since 2007.
Right on.
Yeah. So once I held her, I just I got to put those childish things away and become a man, right? And then I was in a major blowout. There was a gas explosion, and it perforated my eardrums. That's why I got this tattoo, this wolf on my neck. I'm deaf in my right ear. And that kind of put me out for a year. But then I just, I couldn't be on WCB. They weren't paying me anything. I lost my house. I lost everything. And I had to go back to work, even though I was having nightmares about having PTSD. So I thought the rig was going to blow up and everything. I was so scared, but I had to provide for my family. I ended up, getting into the drugs and alcohol pretty bad there because I was self-prescribing myself because of all the nightmares I was having, and just kind of numbing myself to go to work to support my family. After that, I moved out to, I left Grand Prairie. I moved out to Moncton, New Brunswick. I ended up getting married with my wife. When we were married for like 15 years. Then I got promoted and scouted to live out in Australia. So I lived in Australia for 4 years, 28 days on, 28 days off. That was going okay. I had lots of money. I had a house in Brisbane, and I had a house in Moncton, beautiful wife, lost everything I needed, right? But I didn't have, one thing I was missing was spirituality. I didn't have that. So I wasn't grateful for anything. I was chasing everything, right? Well, my, about 2018, the recession hit and they sent us all home. So I got home, and me and the wife, she had developed kind of a habit of herself gambling, right? So it's it tore me apart when I got home after I was making $300,000 a year and only working 6 months, right? So I made close to $1.25 million in 4 years. And she said she was putting $5,000 away every 2 weeks into our daughter's account. But when I got home, there was like $680 in my account. So I divorced her. That week, I went and I started driving truck, and I was making $600 a week. And, I was making $1,700 a day in Australia. Now I had to work 80 hours a week and never seeing my family and living with them, being grouchy. And then I said, I can't do this. So I started a company in Grand Prairie, Alberta. And then once I was there, I worked 2 months, and then COVID hit. And then COVID dropped me. And so when I was in that blowout, I was prescribed 6 perks a day and 3 oxys a day. So I was on that for like 15 years, right?
Ouch.
And back then, we never made a plan to get off of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not blaming everything, because everything happens for a reason. Everything that had to happen, right? So I was going to methadone, trying to get off this stuff. And Christmas time, it was 2020 at Christmas there. I had no money. I was just living off my parents, and I was on methadone at the time. So it was awesome. December 22nd, 2022, I was offered a job in Thailand to build service rigs. So I was like, okay, they're going to pay me $30,000 for that month of January. So I said, perfect. This will set me up back. I can go home, see my daughter back in Moncton. Everything will be all good. And then my doctor went on leave, and he's like, my cousin's going to look after my practice while I'm gone. I said, okay. So I seen him on January 3rd. I said, I need to go on my prescription because I can't take methadone in Thailand. So can you just prescribe me my medication so I can, just for this month, and then I'll go back on my methadone when I get back. Well, there's a language barrier there, and he thought that I still wanted to be on methadone and take my medications, right? So he blacklisted me, and here I am. I'm hurting. I need my prescription. I'm off methadone, and I went to 5 walk-in clinics. And you know how it is to walk into a clinic looking for medication, right? It's like 3 hours here, 3 hours there. And then I end up going to the emergency room, and they just said, no, you're chasing your pills. We got you listed here. You should look after your pills. So I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? So I walked out of the emergency room crying. And I was like, please, I need something. And my friend, I didn't grow up in Grand Prairie. I got old in Grand Prairie. And he's selling this little, he says, take a little piece of this, because he was either jump off a bridge or just curl up in a ball and just die right there. I was just, when you're withdrawing off of Percocets and that, it's so hard on your body, right? He gave me a little piece of this heroin. So I'm like, I took it, and I'm like, what? Instantly, I was just, boom, good. I'm like, oh my God, thank you. He goes, don't you smoke that, don't do anything. That's just until your doctor gets back. And then I'm being open with my wife at the time. I said, honey, this is what I have to do right now until my doctor gets back. And she says, no, you're using heroin. You're not welcome back here. We don't want you back here in Moncton. So then I went on the pity party and just began to just use and abuse it and mask that pain and embarrassment, right? And the guy that I was hired in my contract, he got fired on Christmas Day. So that job was gone too. So everything's just kind of, was just chaos. It just landed so heavy on me. Then I got bad into the addiction. I'll just jump forward here, just living on the streets, hustling, just doing what I could to make ends meet, feed my addiction. And my best friend, Jason Mishaw, he found me in a shed, eh? So, well, he found me, and I was like, living in a shed. Excuse me.
Oh, it's all right, brother.
Take your time, man.
Spaghetti. Anyways, well, he took me out of that shed. He brought me to Calgary. I detoxed on February 28th at the Alpha House in Calgary. And then I went to Simon House, and I finished there on, what was it here? I got it right here. Oh. Well, anyways, it's in June. It was after my daughter's birthday, so it was a birthday present to my daughter that I was 3 months sober, right?
Beautiful.
When I was in treatment, I met Gerald Auger, and you know, I didn't know Creator. I didn't know a higher power. It was tough for me because I was like, well, why is my God, why is my Creator doing this to me, right? And as soon as I met him, a week after, he asked me to be his Agecoutay. So I didn't even know what that was, right? So it was just my very first pipe ceremony I went to was after class in Simon House. So in Agecoutay, we prepare altar, we open sacred fire, and what it is you're sitting there and you're praying, and we do traditional offerings. I can't really tell too much about what we do in that.
Mhm.
But it was such a powerful moment with, you know, of all went down on that pipe ceremony, right? I was given my name, walks with a bear, and I found out that I'm a healer as well, right? So I can take pain and attachments with my hands, and I thought it was like the way that came about was I just asked, well, is this true? During ceremony, it was like my daughter was jumping on a trampoline. She sprained her ankle and it was like sideways, right? So I brought her in the house, and then I prayed. I didn't even pray. I just put my hands over top, and I felt the pain go in my arms and into my ankle. And as soon as I went down to touch my ankle, she ran out of the house and she was jumping on the trampoline again. It took me about 7 days to walk on my leg again. But I was always wondering if that was true, and I was told that I'm a healer and an empath, and I have a lot of work to do, right? And then just fast forward today, it's just like, you know, walking. I built 5 sweat lodges for elders this year. This is for, like, I didn't know Creator. I didn't know I was so gone working in that white man's world on the service rigs, the oil and gas, all that money. And I had so much, but I had so little. Now that I have little, I have so much more. Now I'm acting. I work for, you know, Faces of Wendy, and I've been on shows with Adam Beach, Gene Braverock, Nathaniel Arcan, Simon Baker, Carmen Moore. I shot my first commercial on October. It was for Elections Alberta. And I'm starring in it. And then I got my first 3 scenes. Here I go, like I play a cop, right? And my scene is like, drop the weapon, hands in the air, get on your knees. And just like 10 months prior to that, I was the one getting arrested. Now I'm a cop playing that,
right? Now you're playing a cop, eh?
Yeah. And then I got this other one, like just building teepees, building sweat lodges for these elders, following protocol, not knowing what protocol is, but just learning every day and just being guided to do the right thing. You know, I just find out, I do my morning prayer in the morning. I thank 4 directions. I thank my guides for being with me. I thank the earth and Creator. And when I do that every morning, I thank these things that got me here. I'm not laying in bed at the end of the night going, why didn't this work out for me? Why didn't that work out for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very blessed to be here today. I got another offer to be on another movie. Can't really tell you which one it is, but it's being filmed here. So these are just gifts of sobriety. And I'll just touch base on the project I'm working on. It's traditional hide scraping. You know, I want to teach our youth to see what it takes to actually make these ceremonial objects and what our ancestors had to go through in this weather, you know, for us to be here today, right? So I've got 4 moose 3 elk, 2 deer, and 3 buffalo, and those were all donated to me. And this all started because my friend Alyssa, she introduced me to Helen McFadden over at Stardale, and I went and listened to these little girls drum, and I had this elk, and I wanted to make a sweat lodge drum, so I donated the elk to Stardale, and I met Flora Johnson through that, and Flora Johnson introduced me to Tara, and they are the women that work at the hub of Forest Lawn, right? So it just started by me donating this elk to them, turned into now I'm facilitating. I'm being sponsored by UNICEF Canada, United Way, and I got another government grant to teach our youth about these traditional ways, right? So that's me. That's 44 years in a nutshell right there.
Wow, that's amazing. And so coming from Saskatchewan, we know that there's like a lot of Soto and Cree. So I'm just wondering which tribe is your mom and father? Yeah.
I'm First Nations Cree, Treaty 6 from Waterhen Lake, Saskatchewan. Yeah.
No, that's amazing.
I know a Dean Martell from Waterhead Lake.
Yeah, that's
the bass
that's
player
my
and
uncle.
singer. Oh yeah,
That's my uncle.
I know your uncle, your deadly uncle. Yeah, Dean's a great
uncle,
guy.
another one.
Tyson,
He's a good
first, I
singer.
just want to say congratulations on your recovery and all the hard work you're putting in there, because that's important. I grew up in Central Alberta, and I grew up around a lot of people that worked in the oil and gas industry. Can you comment a little bit on the culture that you were, what it was like for you as an Indigenous person working in the oil and gas industry?
It was we have that label right off the bat as a lazy Indian, right? It's like all these native jokes out there. So that's what really drove me to work harder than that white guy. I'm trying to be prejudiced because, sitting in ceremony, it's not so much Asian, black, colored, white, and red. It's, we're a human race, right? We're a spiritual being having this human experience, right? But it was hard, being called this lazy Indian, and that's what drove me to work harder than them. And I got promoted over them, and I made more money than them, and that just springboarded everything. I even played junior hockey when I was younger because of the racism. It pushed me harder to be there. I was a captain of every major AAA team since Bantams, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's a rough industry because it's like all that money you're making, you're drinking after work, and you're not eating. You're going, you sober up, and you're at work, and you're working at this high pressure, and there's all this heavy machinery, right? And you're doing it out in those extreme temperatures, right? It's a hard industry. Sure builds work ethic, though, that's for sure.
Well, it's not work for the meek, that's for sure. Like all the people that I know that have worked in the oil field industry are definitely hard workers. But I can imagine, knowing the people that I grew up with, I imagine I know what you went through in the racism end of it anyways, is all I'm trying to say. Yeah, it's they work hard, but they're also, hard knocks too.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. Yeah, it's working in those extreme temperatures. It's like I worked in minus 52 and plus 52 in Australia, right? So it's kind of, my body's just so.
Yeah.
So growing up, were you exposed to ceremonies, or was that something that came along later in your life? Does your family practice traditional ways, or have you gone back to your territory to learn any of those?
Well, my great-great-grandpa, his name was Agecoutay, and he was a pipe carrier and a medicine man as well, right? And being a medicine man and a pipe carrier is in my family. But my mom has 17 brothers and sisters, and none of them don't practice it at all. Like, I think we went to one powwow or a Sundance, and it was just, just driving by it. And we were we were whitewashed, as you could say, right? Because it was, it's just trying to fit in, being like not even going to church, right? it was just like, okay, don't act native around these people, just act normal and stuff, right? It was kind of and
try not to have the accent.
Don't have the accent. That was it, right? And it was.
Oh, we lost him.
Maybe his phone died.
Well, we'll wait for a second. And hopefully he'll click back on. Yeah.
Good episode though, man. Good episode.
Oh, there he is. We're coming.
There we go.
Sorry, I don't know what. Maybe it's mine.
That's all good.
So yeah, it was tough not knowing that was my culture, right? Because my mom was embarrassed. I felt like she was embarrassed. I don't know, you know. And I remember this one day doing homework, you know, and I could hear her slang, right? Like just kind of talking like that, and I was like, "Why do you talk like that?" And I said, "Don't you sound so native?" And then she scowled at me, like she said, "Don't you ever talk to me like that again?" And the Cree was spoken in my house. My auntie's on the phone, right? But the reason why she didn't teach me is because I didn't respect it, and that was the thing. I was like, I want to learn that, right? But she didn't teach me because I didn't respect it at the moment, at that time, right?
Yeah,
it's a beautiful language. So the last sweat I was in was the fourth round, and I felt this tapping on my feet, and I had offered tobacco for guidance and knowledge on this journey that I'm on, and felt this tapping on my feet, and then I heard this ancient like, well, he opened the thing, let everyone out, and he goes, "Wait, you, I have a message for you." I said, "What?" He goes, "The ancestors, they want to give you that guidance and knowledge you're asking for every day, but they don't speak English. They want you to learn Cree so that it opens up more doors for you. You know, you'll be able to get more messages. Plus, it'll open more doors for that abundance that you're looking for, right?"
That's amazing.
So,
like,
yeah,
that's totally amazing. And through your journey of like healing and getting to the red road that you're on now, did you know of any men's programs or anything that you could look for or look towards as a man to be able to heal or any of those things?
No, because you know, even still to this day, you know, it's hard for a man to express his feelings, and I've seen it all through the working in the oil patch. Men would just they'd bring that home, they'd bring that stress they have from home, and they bring it to work, and then accidents would happen, right? We never had places where we could talk about mental health or just anything about that's bothering us, right? Because you're in the service rig industry, it's like, be tough, work hard, you know, you're tough as nails. Where we worked when the derricks were made of wood and the men were made of steel, right? Sort of thing. So I'd seen that. So when I started consulting, what I would do at my safety meetings, I had safety meetings with, you know, in between 50 to 200 men, and they'd all be standing there looking at me. Like, it was funny, this one story I got when I got hired in Australia. I got off the plane. There's a sign that says Tyson Martell. I'm like, "That's me." And I go, and the owner of the oil company's like, "Wow, I thought you'd be walking in your cane with all the experience you have on your resume, right?" Like, they were expecting this really old man, right? I showed up with this little brown guy. So, but yeah, even today, it's, unless you're willing to get that help, it's hard to find. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's exactly why we thought it was important to have this podcast for men to be able to, you know, share their stories and life experiences. And, you know, having you on today is definitely, you know, something that I think a lot of men can connect to, and, you know, having that journey of struggle And you know, we've had some other guests on here that you know, started on the streets and now they're running their own businesses and doing well for themselves. And you know I have a lot of cousins that were unfortunately mixed up with the wrong business, but man, were they good businessmen. If they were good businessmen in the legal way, it would just be amazing way, you know.
Exactly.
So real quick, Tyson, I just got a quick question.
Oh yeah.
How did you get from the service rig to acting?
Okay. So I got to the service rig. Like, I was acting my whole life. I just wasn't getting paid for it, right?
Okay.
So I always.
What do you mean you were acting your whole life?
Yeah. I was acting white. So you know, and getting aunties, I'd have to act like somebody else too, right?
Hey.
So it's like, ooh. But it's the dream, like, of ours, you know, because back our babysitter was at TV, right? And I grew up watching SCTV, Saturday Night Live, and you know, here I go aging myself again, and watching that and going like, you know, I could do that, you know, because I was always funny. People always said, like, my mom went to this, she went to this medium, the psychic, right, with a crystal ball, and she said, she grabbed my hand and said, this boy is going to be famous. He's going to be lucky. He's always lucky. He's going to be famous. And she tells me that every day, still to this day. But it's been, this is what acting is what I'm doing to feed my inner child, right? Because my inner child was scared, right? I didn't, so I'm being a good parent to my inner child. I'm feeding it. I'm loving it. So that's, Sunny, actually, do you guys know Sunny Strawberry?
Yes.
I have never.
Sunny Strawberry, good man. Yeah.
Yeah, funny man.
Very, yeah, just don't, like, some of his messenger is just, wow, you know? He said, but you know what? That guy's very inspiring. You know, he's always out doing something. He's always out fixing, moving somebody, going picking some up, or you know, just helping anyone that he can. And
yeah,
he's a good role model out there, that Sunny Strawberry. But he got me in. He got me into acting, and I like everything I do now. I thank him. I told him I'll buy him a motorbike when I get a bigger role, right?
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah. But it's still fun to be out there, you know, be on the set and seeing how it works. And it's just, but you know, everything happens for a reason. Everything that happened to me had to happen for me to be here on this podcast today, right?
I think it's amazing, and even with the hide work that you do, how was that presented to you, and how did you learn that skill? And you know, yeah.
Okay, so going hunting with my good buddies, like they'd always take me hunting because I'm native. I can hunt anything at any time, right? So they had the guns, they had the trucks. I needed meat, and they'd all call me up at like 7 in the morning. Hey, can you come claim this moose? Can you come claim this elk? But then, so I was always out there gutting these animals, you know, and keeping hides and stuff like that, right? And in our culture, I never had a culture, so we weren't using the whole animal. We're using just for the meat and stuff like that, right? So we'd leave the hides for the animals out there, right? But just getting, like, I could feel it. I'm a very empathic, right? And I knew that all this was wrong, what I was doing. So, you know, I asked my uncles, and you know, what do we do? How do we use every part of this animal for good, right? So them teaching me, and I followed protocol with an elder just recently. His name is Helmer Two Young Men, and he's out in Morley. So I went out there. When we followed protocol, we offer tobacco for our teachings, right? So I offered him tobacco, and he says, well, what's this for? Takes to his left hand. I said, I want your guidance and direction, knowledge on how to properly do these hide scrapings, and to make sure that I'm not disrespecting this animal in any way, right? So he taught me a lot about the hide preparations and what goes into it, and how we fast. We fast a day before we go hunting, and that's your sacrifice. So your spirit is talking to that animal, and that animal will sacrifice itself for you, and it'll come to you, and then you'll get that hunt, right? So following protocol and just hands-on is where I learned how to do all this hide scraping.
No, that's amazing. That's so amazing.
Yeah. So
oh, go ahead.
So I want to do a shout out to this place I'm living at right now. It's Living Potential. His name's Justin Herda. He's a good man, right? It's a safe place to it's a sober living environment, right? And being a struggling actor as I am, he's helped me along the way. Like, I don't think I paid rent for about 2 or 3 months now because, it's just because when we act, we're a subcontractor, and then we don't get paid for about a month after, right?
Yeah.
So this guy sees my journey, sees what I do for the, with AIM, and we do a lot of outreach, and he sees the good that's in me. So he supports me, and I just shout out to this place. If it wasn't for this place, I'd probably still be out there. It's Living Potential. Yeah,
that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Big shout out for sure.
And he's white. Oh,
hey. No, that's amazing. And it was great to have you on here. You're an inspiration. And we have a hat for you now because you definitely are
a deadly uncle.
Thank you so much for having me.
And just one more thing that I want to talk to you about, because you are into the cultural aspect now. One thing that we've been talking about is having a safe space in every major city within our city limits to be able to have wakes, to be able to have ceremonies. For the ones that are, like you said, that are living on the streets and that might need guidance, that don't have rides out into the land. And I think even us, I guess, as Indigenous people, we got to start looking at our major cities as our land. We should have a place to be able to pray and to have our wakes inside the city. What do you think about that?
Well, I thought about that too, and I've to have our sweat lodges, we have to have it on clean, untouched land, right? So nothing that's been sprayed or cultivated or anything like that. So there's some bird sanctuaries around that are untouched, right? But sharing circles, where it's just men can just go and drum. Like I like drumming, like Darcy Turning Robe. I used to drum with Sober Crew, and me and Sonny Campbell. You guys know Sonny Campbell?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he's part of AIM, and we go to City Hall and we drum. So that drum keeps me sober, and that drum is a healing drum for sure. Man, I suggest that everyone, because I'll be after this hide scraping, I'll have all that hide. So I'm going to put on a workshop to. It's a 2-day thing. We're going to pray into that hide, and we're going to make healing drums for people, right? So I'll send you a link to when it's going to happen. Miss Canada's going to be there. Valkyrie, I hope that you can show up. I'm going to reach out to Gene Braverock. He might show up. It's going to be elders. We're going to have a Blackfoot elder, because we're on Blackfoot land. He's going to open up with the drumming. He's going to open up a drumming song to bless that hide scraping, and so that the youth understand what the message that we're trying to portray, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing work, man.
Yeah. I appreciate you guys too, right? Like, I look up to you guys. You're doing a lot for us men out there, right? And I'm very privileged to be part of that.
And that's all we're doing is trying to celebrate each other and lift each other up and shine the light on. This podcast is about dads that are doing good things. It's not about it doesn't have your position doesn't have to be high to be a good man. and so amazing.
And and reach out to our matriarchs too, right? I like to shout out to our matriarchs out there because, these matriarchs are in the rising right now, and our artists. I'm good friends with Ashley, Ghostkeeper, Valkyrie, but we need to, behind every good chief was a good woman, right? And they didn't have counsel until that woman would lead them in that ceremony, right? So be out there, support our women as well, right? And because they'll support us, and it's just
beautiful.
I have a lot of strong women in my life right now, so
it's awesome.
Very blessed.
Yeah, I definitely would not be here without the strong women as well in my life. Yeah, it's 100%, and thank you for the good words, and have a wonderful day, my friend. Hi.
Thank you so much. Nice meeting you. Hi.
Nice meeting you, Tyson.
Nice meeting you. Hi. Bye.
Good job, bro.
You're listening to the Deadly Uncle Podcast,
a safe space for deadly uncle conversations.